Welcome back to Y&R For Life, where we talk about all things Y&R related. We talk about what's going on, my predictions, what do I think's going to happen. Hey, we even talk about fashion on this show from time to time because I'm a big time fashion girl, so we got to spill the tea about that. If you're new to this channel, my question is, what took you so long to get here? And if you are returning, what's up? Long time no see. Well, this week, there was some want moments. I dare say a lot of want moments. There was a couple of, chuckles here and there. But overall, I don't know, it was an interesting week. I brought back Phyllis and Cricket. We missed them last week, but they weren't kind of going toe to toe this week, but you'll understand. All right, couple of disclaimers before we get into it. If you don't want to know what's going on, you kind of want to get caught up on your own, this might not be what you want to see or hear, but I am so grateful that you are here. And if I happen to not mention something, it could be I plumb forgot or it really just wasn't newsworthy. So as I like to say, it's the nature of the beast. It is what it is. Things like that happen. And if you like this type of content, you like what you see, you like what you hear, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe button and hit the bell notification, ding, so that you don't miss a single video that I post here on Y&R For Life. Other than that, let's see where we're going to start. All right. Who should we start with first? Okay, let's talk about Kyle. Kind of get him out of the way because Kyle is a whole set of mess. All right, so at one point, Kyle with Diane and Jack, they were having, I don't know if it was lunch or dinner at the club, but we're just going to speak about Kyle specifically. Kyle's going through like a mode of regret, if you will. I knew this was coming. I saw this a mile away. All right. So basically, we saw Kyle speaking with Mariah, and he was at Society at this point in time. And he's basically talking about how his life, in theory, is kind of unfulfilled. Why, you ask? Well, because of his mother, good old Diane, and the fact that she has the co-CEO position at Jabot, and he doesn't. Well, he lets the quote-unquote cat out of the bag to Mariah, his best friend, and basically tells her that, yes, it was his fault that he kind of like egged her on. This was after, Billy had the position and whatnot. And how he's basically living with regret. Like he really wants that position. And if you recall, it wasn't I don't think it was last week. I think it was the week before. Diane was going on to Kyle about how he made some sort of decision without her approval, and this was not the first time that he had done that. And he just kind of, albeit kind of fluffed it off. He knew he was wrong, but he just kind of fluffed it off. So Kyle is sitting back saying, you know what, I really want this position. Again, I shouldn't have settled for the COO position. Now, I want to trying to figure out what's so bad about the COO position. Like, yes, it's the chief operating officer, but like, is it really that much of a lesser title? Anybody know? Anybody could chime in on that? Maybe I need to do a little bit of further, actual research as it pertains to the difference between CEO, which I know, and COO. Because I just don't see why he's having like a conniption over this. But whatever. He's he's probably going to, cry to daddy and say that, his mother is unfit and he should really have this position. And who knows what Kyle's going to say. Again, he's a bit of a loose cannon right now. And he's wallowing in some sort of self-pity. And yeah, can't even be bothered with him. He's still reeling over the fact that Summer hurt him. Meanwhile, she is moved on. And yeah, Kyle, dare I say, you're a bit boring right now. You're a bit boring on the show just because you've been wallowing in self-pity. Get a hold of yourself. Moving right along. Okay, so let's go back to the club and the fact that Jack was there with Diane and Kyle. Okay, Kyle really didn't serve too much of a purpose except, just kind of taking up a seat, pretending he was eating, and the occasional look back and forth to his mom, and, maybe a one or two liners to his father, but whatever. So Jack is there going on and on and on about Ashley, which we will discuss Ashley. I need to have a doll, one of my daughter's dolls, with the crazy hair and the fact that what's going on with Ashley. But anyway, I digress. Let's go back to Jack. So Jack is going on and on about Ashley and how she has, basically said that she believes Tucker and that his side of the story, and whatever she said, she obviously embellished, and that's what it is, and that in no way, shape, or form is he going to allow Tucker to get his hooks back into Ashley. It's not going to happen. Meanwhile, ding, 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 down the stairs comes Tucker. And he just, at some point, Tucker looks over and he's like, you gotta love Tucker. Like, he does, whether he gives you a one-liner, a look, whatever, like, it is classic. So I was like, oh my. So Diane, of course, with her looks, and she's like, what? We gotta like trust Ashley's judgment. And if, this is what Ashley says, like, whatever, she's a big girl. Well, Jack's like, I'm not having it. So he basically gets up and he goes over, marches on over to Tucker while he's at the bar. And it's like, oh, hey, hi. And he basically gives gives Tucker a piece of his mind, and in theory says to Tucker the same thing. I'm not going to let you get your hooks back into my sister. And why didn't you just leave on the same, jet that you came in on, and just never come back? And well, geez, Jack, and whatever one-liners he said. And yeah, that really wasn't going anywhere. And basically Tucker said to him, you know what, Jack, why don't you just, like, when are you going to learn to let Ashley, like, make decisions for herself? And she, like, basically, she's a big girl. She can make her own decisions. It is what it is. Now, Tucker is kind of going, like, under the radar, where he's kind of not trying to make it seem like he still has feelings for Ashley, which we all know he does. Because he's really just trying hard with Audra. He's just going hard. And once again, Audra, you're not gonna, no, not gonna happen. But we'll talk about her in a hot second. All right. So Jack, of course, does his usual, and that pretty much is the end of that. All right. We had seen at the beginning of the week, again, this is pretty much probably the same day, but the beginning of the week, when it started, where Audra and Tucker, finished their little relations, had their little sleepy sleep, Audra snuck out of the bedroom, out of the suite, which again I said the door was like, ch-ch, and she left, and she went over to Ashley, and Ashley's trying to play all coy and like stealth, and like she almost like Rocky Balboa kind of thing, but but I had to laugh when when Audra had confronted Ashley, and Ashley was all too happy to just go toe to toe with her. She just said, Audra, you're just like one of those round the way girls. I was like, what? Yes, Ashley. Just what? And she's like, go ahead. You can insult me all you want, but you don't want to mess with me. Boy, Audra was trying to lay it on thick, like if she is like a thug, a real thug. And Ashley was just cool, calm, and collected, and was like, look here, little girl, you can't face the fact that Tucker still has feelings for me. Like, it is what it is. She's like, look, I don't know what your little sick master I don't know what your little sick master plan is, but it's not gonna work. Tucker's over you. It's done. Hey, he's with me now. Like, you're through, and you can't handle that. And like, you better not contact him. Just leave him alone because we're together. And furthermore, we're going to Paris. And now she's like, oh, our honeymoon spot. Yeah, whatever. It's like, Audra, you were like this tall in comparison to Ashley. She could crush you like a bug. She has how many years experience on you? You ain't that thug. I mean, Ashley has been there, done that, and will do it again. Just saying. Now, we know that Ashley has lost her noodle because she got upset with Audra in that whole little meeting, and whatever Audra said to her, she just ushered her out and just went and sat down, and she was all up in her emotions. And the little voices in her head were talking and sputtering, and yeah, Ashley's, anybody can help her. I don't know. She's trying to play it off like she's Joe Cool, but she needs some serious help. Just saying. And it has nothing to do with her little fender bender she had, because she was going a little cray-cray from before. But Ashley needs some professional help. Stat. Okay, so at some point in time, Audra goes back. This was after that meeting, and she goes back to her suite, and she's like pouring drinks, and she's guzzling them back, and then doot 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 doot, knock 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 on the door. Well, it's Tucker, of course, and Tucker's like, well, there, fancy meeting you here. Basically, you took off while we were in the bed, and like, don't tell me you went to go see Ashley. And she's like, yeah, I gave her a warning, and not to, just to leave you alone, and she's done. And he's like, oh, really? Like, okay. So through all that kerfuffle, he basically was like, you know what? All right, we're going to Paris. And she was like, let's leave, like, right now, like, too sweet. And he's like, oh, okay then. So whether they're going or not, I don't know, but I feel like there will be some sort of delay. And Ashley's just that cray-cray to somehow figure this out and put a stop to that. I'm just saying, she's not in her right mind. I wish she was, but she's not. Okay. So At some point in time, this whole story is just nuts. Ashley's like, ding, 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 ding. Tucker, can you meet me for a drink or whatever? And Tucker's like, like, here we go. So he basically tells Audra about this. Well, actually, I think Audra had grabbed the phone from Tucker and was like, what did you not hear? What you not hear? I said, leave him alone and like, stop this, whatever. So Tucker is like, okay, fine, I'll agree to go and get a drink with you, but he tells Audra that on one condition, that Audra has to come with him. So at some point in time, Audra comes toddling down the stairs with Tucker. Ashley's there at the club, and she's like, oh, of course you have to be here because like you have to spy on him and whatnot. And he's like, actually, I just asked her to be here to see what's going, like, what do you want, this kind of thing. Well, Ashley just went on and on about, what could be, and they're not through. So much so, by the end of that, right in front of Audra, she plants a big on Tucker. It kind of looked awkward, but he was like, and then Audra's like, this woman, oh my God. And she leaves. She didn't actually, she left, but she was just like, again, the little voices in her head were going off, like chiming in big time. So, boy, we need to find her somebody with a quickness, because Ashley is, no, it's not looking good at all. All right. Are we safe to move on from Tucker and Ashley and all that craziness? Because she thinks she's okay, but she's not. All right. We could probably say more. We will just, move forward. All right. So let's talk about Claire and basically the entire Newman clan, minus Nick and Adam. They get a reprieve for this week because we didn't really see them. Oh, we saw Adam, sorry. But as it pertains to the Newman, mumbo jumbo, they had nothing to do with that. All right. So Michael had seen Claire to basically say that he was going to go to the judge and try and get her out. And she's like, is this possible? And he's like, yeah, it might be. And she's like, I really want to help out the family. And, he's like, great, let's go. Do it. So somehow, as the powers that be, moving forward, Michael ends up, he had spoken with the judge and he basically got her out, as we knew that would happen. Okay. So, yes, Michael ends up going to Victor's house and basically tells Victoria and Victor, and I believe Cole was there, that the judge has granted that she be remanded to Victoria and Cole. Okay, whatever. So, of course, Victoria's like, wee! She's all happy. I mean, rightfully so, Again, I can't tell you that I fully trust Claire, but that's just me. I feel like down the pipeline, there's something that's going to happen. Maybe it could be from the perspective of, she's going to try and get all the things that in her mind she deserves, being that she's a Newman. I don't know. Maybe she'll try. Maybe at that point in time, and I'm reaching, but it's not an off possibility. Why? Because we already saw something like this go down with the other characters. But we could see Victoria with somebody new in her life. which she shouldn't because they always end up in horrors. But maybe Claire would try and, seduce whoever, whatever. Because we know it can't happen with Cole because that's just gross. But assuming that Victoria and Cole don't get back together, which could happen, then I could see Claire doing something like this. Again, it's just a prediction for down the road. I'll kind of, see where things go. I could be way off, but anything's possible. Because we saw something like this go down with Summer and Phyllis back when it was the other Phyllis. And it was like Gina. And when she was with Billy. And yeah, that whole set of craziness. But I digress. All right, back to Claire. She gets off and she's all happy because, she's going to be able to get out of there and what have you. So basically, Victoria goes to the hospital, if you will, where she is with Cole, and basically is like, look, no, this can't work. So Claire's like, look, I'm grown. I'm gonna do this whether you like it or not, because again, the master plan is to try, and it was to get Claire out so that she could be like a pawn, if you will, to lure Jordan, so that they could wrangle her up and get her back into jail. Well, yeah, Claire just was like, yeah, I would really like your support, but if you don't support me, I'm still going to do it. So, na boo boo. It is what it is. And she's like, are you really, and you really go against my wishes? Okay, Victoria, what are you, the wicked stepmother? Like, what is that? You really go against my wishes? You just met the girl. Oh, whatever. All right, so she's like, okay, like, I'm going to support you. You're my daughter and whatnot. And, Victoria gives her little disclaimers. And, yeah. So she's like, look, I really wanted you to come live with me, but Daddy doesn't think that would be safe enough. So we're going to go to the ranch. She's like, oh, I always dreamt of the ranch, and I always envisioned it having like secret passageways and, the horses, and you see what I mean? You see? Mm-hmm. So she ends up going over to the ranch. This is completely fast forward because that just went on and on. And she is in her new attire, which kind of had the same coloring as her old attire, but it was more of a two-piece knitwear set. I was just like, really? You couldn't put the child in something else? But whatever. Anyway, color-wise. So, of course, Victor all of a sudden has like this soft spot. Oh, you're my granddaughter, and, I want you to feel welcome here, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just weird. Oh, let Victoria show you around the grounds, and apparently they have a pool. I've never seen a pool there, and a jacuzzi or something like that, like in or was it a sauna in the bedroom? What? Can I get that bedroom? I've been looking for a sauna. Just saying. So she basically gets her grand tour, and Victor's like, when this is all over, you can choose where you want to live. If you want to live with your parent, your mom, or you want to live here, the choice is yours. Oh, wow. All right. She was concerned as to, this is Claire, mind you, as to how come Nikki wasn't there. Well, segue to Nikki, because I don't want to talk too much more about Claire, because, again, something just doesn't smell right with her. But anyway. So segue to Nikki. Nikki ends up getting these flowers from Seth. They were actually very beautiful flowers. And I must say that Nikki in red she looks amazing. Her outfit was really, really nice. So once again, check mark for her outfit. Because the last time she was wearing red, it was check mark again. So anyway, she gets this beautiful set of flowers from Seth, basically, a peace offering, if you will. So she phones up Seth because she originally thought they were from Victor, but she phones up Seth and is like, oh my gosh, the flowers are beautiful. Okay, side note. I can't even remember his name, but the bodyguard, when she was entering into her office, and he was just like, I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you really check? Right. Okay. So back to Seth and Nikki, and she called him, and she's like, "Oh, Seth, the flowers are beautiful," and he's like, "Well, that's the least I could do." And then he's like, "You want to meet for coffee at Crimson Lights or whatever?" And she's like, "Well, I think that would be all right as long as you don't mind a big whatever bodyguard." Anyway, I guess he didn't mind. So then they reach to Crimson Lights, and the bodyguard, well, he's there looking left and right, ushers her in. Nikki's there speaking to Esther, and Esther is going on about, oh, Nikki, like, is that a bodyguard? I don't know how to deal with this. I've never dealt with anything like this. Um, is everything okay? Because you're like family. And then she's like, can you just get, whatever drink for myself as well as the bodyguard guy? Okay. So then Nikki ends up on the patio. Seth is there. They have their conversation. Within this conversation, Seth was going on about Isabel, aka Jordan. And Nikki, her little ding spidey sense, her antennae were up. As well they should have been, because none of it was making any sense. And she's like, what? None of this makes any sense. Like, I don't know anybody like this. And so whatever Seth had said, again, she's like, okay, now I know this is just crazy. Like, no. Whoever you're describing, no. I would have remembered, like, no. So then Nikki's like, wait a minute. Do you think that the person could have been possibly wearing a wig? So Seth's like, well, possibly. And yeah, so she says that she's, like, she just said your name. She like, how did she know this information? And how did she know that you knew me? And like, that's weird. So then he's like, wait a minute. Do you think that it could be the same woman that, has been terrorizing you? She's like, well, if anything is, could be true, then yep, I believe this. And then she's like, can you send me the number that she called you on and whatnot? Well, Seth was hot under the collar after this. So she basically said, if you help me out, like, this would be greatly appreciated. So I want you to just continue up the charade with her and, see where this goes. But I bet the farm, basically, that whoever it is, that's the person. So Seth basically met Jordan at the bar, and he was hot where she was concerned. Meanwhile, she was there at the bar, and she was trying to figure out where Claire was. So much so that she called, posing as Nikki, at the hospital and saying that she wanted to speak to her granddaughter, and they're like, no, she's not here, she's been released. And then she realizes, like, oh, they must have got her out, and they're gonna, they're sucking you in, Claire. And it was just a big time mess. Nikki ends up going back to the house and basically spills the beans, thinking that, that she knows that Jordan is out for real and that she's been posing as somebody else. And yeah. So, we're going to see where that goes. All right. So I think we got 2 more people to talk about. It's been an interesting week. We'll talk about, hold on, Phyllis and Cricket and Danny Romalotti. And we'll be very brief where they're concerned. Very brief. All right. So, although they didn't have, like, some battle royale this week, they were doing their own, I don't know, wallowing. It was comical, especially Phyllis. Let me just say, Phyllis, I adore you. I really do. But you really made yourself look so desperate this week. I mean, just ridiculously desperate. I was even cringing for you. All right. Why, you ask? Well, because Phyllis overhears Danny talking about how the fact that he's going back on tour and like it's happening very, very soon. So it's basically in 2 weeks, he's out of there. And yeah, so she's like, what? You're leaving so soon? Just after we were starting up a relationship? Phyllis? What? So Danny's like, okay, now this is just nuts. So he's like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'll be leaving in like 2 weeks, whatever. Okay, let's fast forward this thing where Phyllis is basically like, okay, can we just have like a goodbye dinner? And again, I'm completely fast forwarding. And he agrees to it. And then she's like, yeah, make it tonight. He's like, wait, what? She's like, well, think about it. It'll be out of the way. You don't have to think about it. It's done. It's just a dinner. It's just one last dinner. Well, here's where it kind of gets kind of weird, where Phyllis is like, I want you to cook for me. He's like, what? And she's like, yeah, and I want you to make the sauce. Now, Phyllis I'm Danny, and she's like right up, like this close. I want you to make the sauce. Well, if Cricket could have the sauce, then it's only fair that I get the sauce too. Okay. I think on just like in real life, Michael Damian, if you actually can make some sort of like sauce that is like on point, maybe you should bottle that up. I mean, Paul Newman did the same thing with salad dressing, so like, why can't you? Like, what is in this sauce? I'm imagining just like some pasta sauce, some garlic, maybe some oregano, some tomatoes. What's in the sauce? Anyway, so he's like, well, you ain't coming over to my place, that's for sure. And I ain't going to where you are. Like, that's not happening. Which, doesn't she still live at the club? I don't know where Phyllis lives, but whatever. So she's like, no, I'm going to get a restaurant and you could cook. Just leave it up to me. Fast forward, she ends up speaking to Abby over the fact that she wants to rent out her restaurant for the evening. And Abby was like, yeah, no can do. So then somehow, I guess Abby, it warmed her heart, and she ends up saying, well, the last reservation is whatever time, and you can have the place from 10 o'clock, um, but you're going to have to pay my wait staff, like double whatever their salary is and whatever. And anyway, story short, Phyllis was like, you're a lifesaver, whatever. So we don't know because what's gonna become of that, but I beg to say Danny's gonna fall, he's gonna fall with Phyllis with the sauce. All right, let's move on to Cricket. Cricket is like so boring, and she always looks bewildered. Like, poor Cricket. All right, so Cricket meets with Nina at society and basically goes on and on about how Phyllis is, in her way, but she also blames Danny because he's not really being firm with Phyllis, because he just kind of is being so friendly. And side note, I did not like what Nina was wearing. I did not like what Cricket was wearing. Cricket had a small window of opportunity with her sequin skirt, but the top just was too close. It just drowned her right out. Nina was wearing like a moss green, and it was, I couldn't even tell you what kind of brown it was. It just, bleh. Who styled that? No, it wasn't good at all. I was so caught up on that, and I was just like, oh, this looks terrible. But anyway, I digress. So basically, Nina tells Cricket, look, you got to chill out, and you got to let Danny realize what he's missing, and he's like, he can't let you slip through his fingers again. So, yeah, at some point in time, I can't even talk. At some point in time, Cricket and Danny end up on the patio together. I can't even remember how, I guess this was after Danny had spoken with Phyllis, and she professes the fact that she's fallen in love with him again. I'm like, whoa, once again, that was quick from Paul. And they end up kissing. All right, there's only so much I can take with Phyllis and Cricket, and their craziness. All right, Cricket, you are going away. All right, lastly, we're going to talk about, let's gloss over Chance, do-gooder Chance, and the fact that whatever he had said, whatever pitch he had made to Billy and Devon, the fact that Billy kind of was like snafu'd it, and he basically confronted Billy and was like, look, you just kind of like threw me under the bus kind of thing. You just really didn't pay me no attention, and I didn't appreciate that, and whatnot. Billy's like, look, you still, in theory, like, you're still wet behind the ears. There's so much for you to learn. I don't know. So that just was silliness. All right, last we're going to talk about the fact that Connor, and thank goodness, because I kept saying, well, by the time we see Connor, he'll be like 25. Connor did grow up some, but it's still the same Connor. So thank goodness for that. Great for continuity. All right. So Connor, we see Connor, and this is because Billy told Devon that he had to hightail it out of there and go with Chelsea to go see Connor. There's a little story between Billy and Devon. I'm not even going to mention it. It's not really important at this point in time because 'tis what it is. But he was going to meet up with Chelsea, and they were going to go and see Connor. So insert Adam into this equation. They all meet up at Crimson Lights, and they were all going to go to see Connor. This was not after. This was after there was a little, back and forth banter between Adam and Billy, and Chelsea was just about ready to lose her noodle over that, and basically told them, well, maybe you guys should just stay home, and maybe I should just go by myself. And they just toned it down with a quickness, and they went to go see Connor. Connor, pushing forward, he was diagnosed with OCD. He doesn't know this, but the doctor who met with him, asked him a bunch of questions, and the way he answered it, all telltale signs he has OCD. So I actually feel bad for Connor because I do know a couple people who struggle with OCD. I know myself, there's certain things where I'm like very particular on. However, the level that how you saw Connor and people that I know, like it to me, it looks very debilitating, and I totally have sympathy for that. Like, again, I don't like to see people in any sort of pain or suffering. Like, it doesn't do anything for me, whether they be good or bad. Like, I just don't like seeing that kind of stuff. Paying for crimes, yeah, but when it comes to just like general health and wellness, I don't like to see anybody in any sort of distress. So seeing Connor like that, I'm familiar with it because I know people in that situation. So, of course, there's no cure, but, you just have to work with the person. And Chelsea and Adam, they discover this together, and we're going to see how it pans out, how they work together in order to help Connor. So bravo to Connor, and for just being open and honest about what's going on. And yeah, so that was pretty much the week. Not much more to say. I think we covered just about everything. There was probably a couple of things that, again, wasn't worth mentioning, or I may have just forgot. But if you stuck around to the end of this video, I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time, your support, everything. I appreciate you. And again, if you like this type of content, you like what you see, you like what you hear, hit that like and subscribe, and share, share, share. Why? Because sharing is caring. At least I like to think so. So we're going to see what this coming week holds, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye.